Hello everybody, welcome to the eighth instalment, is that right? Am I counting right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes! Eight, which is a Chinese lucky number. It's the 8th instalment of The Distracted Baker. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. A little bit distracted, but yeah, that's not surprising really, is it? Anyway, today it's still Christmas and we're going to be making some mince pies that are dead easy with a simple short crust pastry and filled up with a pimped up mincemeat, put in the oven and then put in your gob. They're going to be great. This is your ingredient and equipment list. Pause here while you gather these items and at any point in the video, should you need more time. So we're going to make a short crust pastry for some mince pies that we're going to pimp up in a minute. So this is a recipe from Dan Leppard from his book Short and Sweet, which I've always used for my mince pies because a lot of pastries are really heavy on the butter, which is great. They taste delicious, but they're really difficult to roll and you have lots of problems with it. This one's a much easier to roll generally. So we need, to start with, 250 grams of plain flour, so regular plain flour, not strong flour that we use for bread, just the regular plain flour. 250 grams of that, that's quite a bit. Right, that's 250. We also put into that 50 grams of icing sugar. Which you've got to be careful with because it goes everywhere, so be very gentle. That just gives it a nice crisp flavour. It's deliberately taking its time. Right there. And a pinch of salt sometimes. Yeah, it's got a bit. But we're going to use salted butter, so don't use a pinch of salt. If you're using unsalted butter, which you should for this recipe, use a pinch of salt in the recipe. So we're going to break the butter. We need 150 grams of butter and we're going to break that into pieces into the bowl. There is another way you can do this, which is in a food processor. You can put this in, with the food processor. I can't even speak in sentences today. So you can break this in and put it in a food processor and blend it that way, and it should look like breadcrumbs when you're done. I think it was a mistake between them. I should have actually just used a food processor, but there you go. There's me trying to be a hero today. Tangent. Right, so this part here. So now what we're going to do is going to get my hands in and we're going to start rubbing the butter into the flour. And that might take a little bit of time. So you rub it into the flour and icing sugar until it vanishes, is what it says. So that can sometimes take time. My wrists are a bit sore already. Oh well. Oh sorry. At least I could. Do you want to go? Oh sorry, you can't. She can't because she put her shoe on or took her shoe off. That's what happened, and it went pop. Because she's a delicate flower, Heather. Heather. Literally a delicate flower. Well, no, it's actually quite a strong flower, isn't it?
Yeah.
Heather, robust, hardy.
Yes.
Keeps coming back.
Yeah. Cats like to pee on us.
Yeah, they do. Where does the name Julie come from? The month July, is it simple as that?
My mother.
From Tangent. Dan Leppard suggests that you that you cut the butter into small pieces. I didn't do that, so it's taking a lot longer. The reason you put it in small pieces is because it would melt very quickly and stay cold. I'm feeling like this is more like a puff pastry at the minute. At the moment there are big chunks of butter. But they are going, it's taking time, but there's still big pieces in there, as you can see. I'm going to have to stand, unfortunately, so I can just get that in a bit better. The thing is, when you have high butter content, it's difficult. When you're rubbing in a small amount of butter into a pastry, it's quite easy because you have time. But it's kind of, when you're putting in a lot, it warms up, and you don't want to warm the pastry up at all. That's the pastry's enemy. There's still some big pieces in there, like massive pieces of butter still in there. Here we go. I should have prepared one of these earlier as well. That would have been good if I'd have done that. But then you can see that it's possible. Don't really squeeze it with your fingers. Only when you get over a bit of butter, rub it gently. But don't really caress it. It's more like a kind of scattering than anything else. And as you can see, it's looking like breadcrumbs now, but it should look like fine breadcrumbs and there aren't any big pieces of butter like that one. It's nearly there, actually. So, this is pretty much there. As you can see, it's quite... There are not any really massive pieces of butter. There are a few bigger pieces. That isn't ideal, but I think that'll be fine. I think that'll be good, actually. That's fine. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to mix in, see the 2 egg yolks I have here, which I've just separated in, and I'm going to mix them in with my hand, and a bit of very, very cold water. And we're going to see how that goes, and I'm going to mix that in, pop them in, literally pop them, and try to bring this dough together now. This is the thing. It's really mucky, as I said. And this is why I usually use a food processor, because it's messy. But for some people, it's really quite something cathartic about getting in there. Don't overwork it, though. Really try to just bring it together. Because again, gluten is the friend of bread, not of cakes, and certainly not of pastry. If you overwork this, it will become very tough, and it's just not very pleasant. What you want the butter, this to do is melt in the mousse. So you don't want it too crumbly. You've got to be careful, and it is very crumbly at the minute. But equally, you don't want it too wet, and it's trying to find that balance in the middle. And I think we're nearly there. Again, you can need it literally just to bring it together, but you don't want to overwork it at all. And I think we're there. So that, I'm not convinced. It's just a little over, but no. I don't want to overwork. But what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to make it into a flat, like a disc shape, and there's a reason for this in a minute. So there's a disc. I'm just gonna pop that there a moment. I'm just gonna wash my hands. Sorry. I'm gonna headbutt the boom. Nearly headbutt the boom. Like Acorn Antiques. That would have been that whole pain situation going on. You know that pain situation? Tangent. That'll be a tangent. Don't look at all this mess. It's horrendous. We've been making all kinds of things. So depending on what episode you're watching this season, is going to be really tidy, chaos tidy, depending on what we're making, because we're doing things in different orders. Did you know that? It's true. Magicatelli on YouTube. Right, so I'm going to get, where are we?
You just broken the 4th wall.
Just broke the 4th wall. It's the 12th. Smash the 4th wall. Do you know who's behind that? A person. Oh my God, your head. She's a robot, actually. She's got Julie the robot. See? Exactly. Tangent. I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, this I'm now gonna pop into a bag. The cling film is just as good, but I just couldn't find it just then. So I'm just gonna use this. Again, I'm gonna make it into a nice flat disc. Seal it and pop it in the fridge until it's firm. So probably about 20 minutes. And then we'll fill that for the mince pie. So we're going to make some pimped up mincemeat with leftover bits of mincemeat. Again, this is inspired by Dan Leppard. He did this with a recipe. I think he used walnuts quite a while ago. I can't remember which one it was, but anyway, it was based on that. But I've got like old bits of leftover mincemeat. So this is one that had like brandy and ruby port in it already, but it was like an old, it's 2/3 of a tin. That's an old bit of Robertson's. So it really doesn't matter what mincemeat you've got here, and it's still perfectly good. This happens to have a bit of alcohol in it anyway. This has, I think, ruby port. Again, it doesn't need to have alcohol in this at all. So that's the basic mincemeat. And into that, I'm going to add the zest of an orange. Just use the outside. If you can see there, there's no white skin under there. It's just still orange, which means it's perfectly good. And the reason I'm doing this, because you don't really want big pieces of peel. No one really likes that. You just want a nice orangey flavour. Cracking. That's that. Get that in there as well. And then we also add the juice of the orange. I'm just going to cut that in half. And I've got a juicer here, which happens to fit the bowl perfectly. But you can use a fork if you need to just squeeze it in. It really doesn't matter. But this just stops the pithy bits getting in there. Right, and then I'm going to add a splash of brandy, just a splash. That'll do. And some pecan nuts, just a handful of pecan nuts again. These can be toasted, I like them toasted, or they can just be straight from the packet, it really doesn't matter, just chop them up. I like nice big pieces as well, but it's up to you how you like them. Just going to chop them roughly. Watch your fingers. David sharpened all the knives the other day, and I've already got like slash marks on the bottom of my hand. Nothing to do with the knives, he just attacked me. He didn't, it's a lie. Keep lying, why am I lying? I'm telling lies. It's my ADHD, because I lie. It makes me lie. It doesn't, it's not true. Just using it, aren't I now? What my ADHD does do right now, I'm really tired. So we've made actually 6 recipes in 4 hours today. So this is in a completely different order. This is about recipe number, I don't know what recipe, this is recipe number 6 I think. I think this is the 6th one. So, so my brain is just not having any of it. Just remember, don't do all 6 recipes. Don't wait until the 6th recipe is out and think, I'll do that as well, because it won't work out well. I've done a lot of these a few times before, and thank God I have, because, oh my goodness. But doing one at a time and have fun doing it. I am enjoying this, believe it or not. We're just going to have a lot to eat.
Tangent.
I don't know what I'm talking about. So just push those nuts in as well, and stir all that in to your mixture. Now it's quite a wet mix at the moment, but just stir all that in there. And then what you'll do, we'll just let that sit for a bit. You can probably put in a little bit more fruit if you want to bulk that out as well. Do you know what, I probably will. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to just put in a few figs as well that will kind of help. So I'm going to pop in a couple of lentils. No lentils. I'm going to put in some sultanas because they're already in a mincemeat anyway. So I'll put in another handful of sultanas.
It's like you're doing your baking lunges.
This is my baking lunge. It's just comfortable, my back's going, you know.
Tangent.
It's another one. So that's that. All right, so that's your mincemeat mixture ready. What I'm going to do with that now, I'm going to cover it and let that sit for about 2 or 3 hours. Let it come together before you use that as a mincemeat in your mince pies. Great, so we're going to put together the mince pies, right? This should be quite easy. I'm using my table because I can. It's quite handy for it. It has some little ridges in it, but it's not too bad. There's just some plain flour I'm just putting onto the board, not too much. It might be better to use, some people use icing sugar instead, so you don't get too much of a floury texture. So here is the pastry. Now I've chilled it down, but it's still very soft, so we've got to be quite careful with it. So I'm going to start rolling, but as you can see it's quite soft. And we want it till it's about, I don't know, 1/2 centimetre in thickness. I think that was what we were going to go for. Right? It's been a while since I've made these. And then this is the problem because it's so delicate. So what I'm going to try to do is do what you don't normally do when you're rolling pastry. Usually you turn the pastry, but I'm just going to turn this because look at how short it is. These little cracks in it are probably a good sign for its flavour. Not necessarily the best sign for its stability right now, because I think it probably needed, there we go, to chill a little bit longer. But hopefully it won't be too bad. Right, the pastry cutters I've got a muffin tray here with 12 holes. This should make 12 mince pies. It might not. Some of them aren't going to be so even. What I need to learn with my baking, and particularly with making little pies and things, is my finesse. I don't really have any. So I'm going to try my best to get these even. So this is a 10 centimetre cutter I've got here for the bottoms, and this is an 8 centimetre for the tops. The reason you need a 10 centimetre, even though that's only that, is because when we pick this up, there we go, and we pop that in there. As you can see, you'll be very careful here. You might want to, I don't really grease these because they're quite high. So you can see that'll fill up, but it'll still look like it should fill up the pie hole. The pie hole. Cake hole. Shut your cake hole. Do you remember that? People said that at school when I went to shut your cake hole. Shut your cake hole. The other thing people would say was milk, lemonade, round the corner, chocolate's made. And yeah, I know, right? It's disgusting and funny. Tangent. So I'm making tops at the moment. I'm trying to be careful because I want to make sure there's enough for the tops and the bottoms. And you've got to kind of work quite quickly with this because, again, this is warming up. We've got some lights as well to make it a little bit warmer. I'm just going to try and find something to kind of lift that easily without, we don't really want to damage it. You've got to go very quickly. See, this so buttery, and because that one's a little thinner than that one, you see, I'm not very good at the thicknesses here, unfortunately. I'm rushing a little bit. This is much thinner down here. See, thin pastry generally is great. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this at all. But it'll be all right. It is what it is. These are kind of, for today, we're going for very easy, uneven mince pies because we're running out of time.
Rustic individuals.
Look at that one in comparison. It's like a big, thick one.
Tangent.
Yep. And again. So you get the idea. So you go through the whole pan and then we'll put in a dollop of the mincemeat, which should have been soaking for 3 hours at least. This has been soaking for about 3 minutes. But so it's very wet. But you know, just use about a good teaspoon inside on each one. A really good, because they're quite deep, a bit like me. And the thing is, they'll taste great. I mean, they really will. And I think. So I'm going to just roll this a little thinner actually because I'm looking at the others going, they're very different. Why have I done the wrong size ones? No wonder they're smaller. So what I've done is start putting, these are smaller because I've used a smaller cutter. That's what happened there. So end of a long day. A very, very long day. I've put it in now. Right, so we're going to, the 10 centimetre ones will fit like this and like this. These are too small because I used the wrong size cutter, but I'm tired and I'm forgetful. And I'm hoping that's why you're watching this is because you're much the same. Right. But again, it's so buttery, it's just almost impossible to lift up. So let me just get, actually do need my spatula right now.
I'm going to need a spatula.
Oh, goodness me. They're off on their spatula. I don't even have my spatula. I have a spatula until my dying day. It gets so warm so quickly, this pastry, that it's almost impossible to kind of deal with. Just lift it really carefully. Pop it in, that's actually fine, that one. This kind of thickness is probably correct. The other ones were a little too thin. And again, I haven't had time to chill this down thoroughly, and that's what will happen. Your pastry will just get very soft and it'll be really difficult to roll. Or it'll be fun to roll, but it'll just be too soft to move and to handle. You've got to be really careful. So had we chilled this down fully and had I put the right, cut them out to the right size to begin with, they'd have been fine, but they'll still taste good, as I said. Carry on, just put the filling in at the end as well. Don't do it now because it'll make it wet. I don't know why I'm doing it right now. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to stick with 8 of these mince pies for now. So these are actually tops. What you do now, you get a little bit of egg wash, which is just beaten egg. And what you do is you pop it just around the top of that. And then that one's actually a little bit too shallow. Don't overfill them, but make sure they're going to be full. And pop that on top. And just push that down a wee bit, that'll be fine. And again, brush a little bit at the top with the egg wash as well. That'll kind of finish them off and give them a nice brown colour. maybe you can come back in a second when I've done all of these and we'll just show you the process of getting them in the oven, because I'm having a bit of a nervous breakdown. But thank you. Thanks for your concern, that was really kind. That was really nice. I'm going mad. Yeah. Tangent. I don't know what I'm talking about. So these are massively rushed, as you can see. Last recipe of the day, trying to get them in the oven as quick as I can. So awful. This is like one of those bake-off challenges that went wrong. But the recipe is right. So just make sure. One little tip is actually with the pastry is to halve it when you're handling it and keep half in the fridge. I used to do that before. I'm just remembering things as I'm doing them because it's been since 2 Christmases since I've made this recipe. So use the right size cutters. Take your time. Don't rush like I'm doing. If you do, you're going to get those. If you're happy, then that's fine. I'm happy enough with that. Fine. I know they'll taste good. I'm just going to put these in the oven now at. I'm going to sprinkle these in a little bit of caster sugar and put them in the oven. I don't know what I've done with my caster sugar. It's right over here. So there we go. Put these in the oven at 180 degrees, which is fan. So that's about 200 on a regular oven. Some of them will be done before. Some of them will take a bit longer. Right, so we're going to take the mince pies out the oven now. I'm shouting because it's like so fast and furious. As you can see, they're browned off really nicely, actually. They look great. The smell is amazing, got to say. And now normally what we'll do at this juncture, leave them in for about 10 minutes before taking them out. But we've got no time because this is the 6th recipe we've made today. And we've run out of time. So what I'm going to try to do is take one of these out now. Look at that, the way it lifted out. Look at that, it's perfect.
It's a proper meat pie.
Oh, it's hot. Oh, it's hot. There we go. There's one of our wee mince pies. And I'm going to cut into that immediately and we're going to see it's a lovely short pastry. That's really gorgeous. Look at that. So that's the one. They should have all looked like that. Some of them look like they've been in a fire. Some of them look like they've been, you know, in a war zone generally. But otherwise they look like this. What I normally do again, I dredge them in a bit of like this. Dredge them in a wee bit of that. Once they've cooled down, like that. Just do that. Snow, Christmas, and now I'm going to try and taste them hot from the oven. Let's see how this goes. Really quickly. God, they're really good.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas
Merry Christmas.
from Mr. Kipling. Does make exceedingly good cakes. Mr. Jeery. I'm going to keep going on this, it's bloody nice. Anyone going to have a bit? We're going to try, attempt.
Go on.
Go for it. It's very, very hot. Go, get in that bit. Ow! She sprained her wrist and burnt her fingers. She really can't use that hand anymore. It's like going, my tongue fell off. Yeah. But they're bloody nice, aren't they? Oh yeah. And now let's have a look at all the things we've made. So now it's Christmas. You can see that we made all of this today, and some bread, which was eaten at lunchtime. So we've made 8 recipes for 6 different items. In fact, probably more, 9, 10 components for all of these things. But each one of them, if I can do that many in 5.5 hours, and we had like a half an hour lunch break, then you can do one of these in a couple of hours and take your time and really enjoy it. Bacon's to be enjoyed. So, do you know, that was quite a moving moment. And then like Amazon delivery sort of at the door, or somebody else who I don't really care about. Oh no, it's something good, bye. Don't forget to subscribe on the link below, The Distracted Baker, and follow us on Instagram at Distracted Baker for more recipes.